Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ask the Theologian today. Glad you're here with us on this Friday. I hope you're having a great Friday. Across America and around the world, from Taos, New Mexico, welcome. We have your biblical, theological, and worldview questions ready to go today. What's on your mind? If you got a live question, of course, you can use the word question right at the beginning. And we'll take them and be ready to go. And I got a number of them that have come in through randywhiteministries.org, where we've got the Ask a Question button. You can submit your questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm going to try to get caught up on a few of these here today and get going. But hey, did you see the Living the Torah series last night? There we go, right there, Living the Torah. We looked at those who want to put us under the law, the Hebrew Roots movement, the Sabbatarians, whatnot, and looked at what Paul had to say about Jesus abolishing the law, what that means. So check it out. That was session number 7 of that particular series. Excuse me. Let's jump in here to Jay in Tennessee, who has a question that came in on Tuesday, who says, how about that? Great series on living the Torah. This was even before session number 7. Exposing the false view that no one at the time could ever live the law. I remember, Jay says, reading the law as a kid, and even then thinking that people could actually do this, and that if they couldn't, then it really was a mean trick God was playing on them. Let's stop right there. Yeah, that's one of the basic issues of the, one of the basic premises I want to hit is you get it again so many times. It's in session 1. We hit it a number of times over and over and over again about how often it's taught, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. And yet, those of us who can read look at it and we're like, I don't see anything yet that I can't do. What is it? Neither individually, or by individual laws, I mean, we look at the individual law and there's nothing there. We say, oh, I could never do that. They want me to crawl on my knees to Guatemala. Nor collectively, the entirety of the whole. We don't even say, I could never do that. So I guess we've been lied to so many times that the kids look and say, don't look so hard to me. But after you've been told something over and over and over and over again, you can't do it. I wonder if it's like, I heard this illustration years ago. I don't even know if it's true, but the illustration of the elephant, the baby elephant that they train, and they put a big old chain on it and tie it, to a stake, and all they can do is go in that little area. And then when he's older, he can pull that chain right out of the ground. It's no problem at all. But he never does it. He does it because he's been brainwashed to think, I can't do this. And maybe that's why there's so many out there who think, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's impossible. Okay, back to the question. And, let me add, let's don't get back to it yet. But Jay does say, it was really a mean trick God was playing on them, telling them he would bless them for doing something that they could never really do. Yeah, why don't we bring that up for what it is? It would be. No, I'll go even beyond mean. It would be wicked. Wicked to promise someone, I, your God, am going to do this for you if you'll do this impossible thing. What kind of people come up with a God like this? They make it up. They don't read it out of the Bible. They make it up totally. Okay, let's go on. Anyway, I had a question on session 6, Jay says, regarding Paul, when you address Romans 2:13 and 16, the justification of the law is viewed as someone could only be justified post-resurrection. My question is then, how was Zechariah and Elizabeth righteous before God while they were still alive? They haven't been resurrected and yet and judged yet, but they were righteous. They were still alive. I don't see a difference between being righteous and being justified. Okay, maybe you got something here. Let's check this out. And we were going with, again, Romans chapter 2, verse 13. The hearers of the law are justified before God, but the doers of the law, not the hearers, shall be justified. The doers of the law shall be justified. I did speak in session 6 about a future tense. They shall be justified. And then down in verse 16, in the day when God shall judge the secrets of men by Jesus Christ according to my gospel. Okay, they shall be justified in the day in which God shall judge. And there I quoted, let's see, I don't recall the verse on there, but quoted from the Psalms, no flesh shall be justified before him. It's in Romans, and it's a quote from the Psalm. Find that reference there, if you would. Luca, and based that, okay, being alive. I said you gotta be alive. As a matter of fact, find the Psalm version of that if you could, because it's the clearest of that. And we'll take a look. I want to say Psalm 14 or 114, or there's a possibility I'm just wrong.
143.
143, see? Verse 2. And there, I want to go ahead and put up Luke 1:6, which is Zechariah and Elizabeth. See if we can solve this dilemma that the sharp-minded Jay has brought up. Psalm 143, verse 2, enter not into judgment with thy servant. In thy sight shall no man living be justified. Now, Paul said, shall no flesh be justified. I put forward the idea. I did not verify it, and I said I didn't verify it, and we should do the work. And I haven't done the work. That flesh has the idea of being living, and that I think that's what Paul meant when he said, no flesh shall be justified. I put forth the idea that perhaps we should study and see, is flesh in the New Testament actually used as a living thing? Luca, do a quick research on that. Do we? I know it may be different in the Old Testament, so I'm not interested in Old Testament passages, but in the New Testament, flesh, it would be the Greek word sarx probably, is that ever used of dead flesh? In English, obviously it can be, but I supposed, we may be found wrong here, I supposed that Paul used no flesh instead of no man living, meaning the same thing. And therefore it was a verbal equivalent, if you will. And yet then Jay brings up, okay, no man living shall be justified. The reason I said that, by the way, let me back up just a bit here. The reason I said that was because the law has an ongoing demand. And so you cannot be justified, given the final judicial decree, until you've come to the end. So you've got to go through death and then you stand before the Lord, or some people will skip the death part of it and just stand before the Lord. You've got to come to the end. The full time now has been given. We know that you don't judge a politician based upon where they are right now, for example. Remember the first George Herbert Walker Bush, after the, Desert Storm? I may be getting my Middle Eastern Bush Wars mixed up. But after the first one, in the early 90s. And his approval rating was like 85%, like unbelievably high. And then a few years later, he lost the election, was not elected to a second term. So it's kind of that idea that until the term's up, let's not put the judgment down on this. In thy sight shall no living man. Okay, but here they were both righteous then and there before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord, blameless. Now, I wonder, like here, you've got walking, that's the present participle. They were right there. They happen to be walking. Righteous, what can we do with that? I need to see the tense on that, and for that, I am going to have to pull up a little Greek here, and right about now, you'll get the evangelical music, and then we'll pull up the Newberry. Let's get Newberry up here and just see what tense that is in. I need to actually look at the Greek, not at the English. This is Luke chapter 1, verse 6. And they were, okay, it's an adjective. But so is walking. Walking is it is a verb in English, but here's what I think there. We would want to check this on English. I'm going to pull this over so you can actually see some Greek. There we go. They were. That's the verb. It's a verb of being, which always makes things confusing. Now, look at these three orange words right here. Just, both, walking. Those orange words are the subject. Walking is modified by just. So I think we could say righteously walking. Let's get it over here. They were both before God righteously walking in all the commandments. So I think we can argue that is describing them right then and there. There is the possibility, and I may have mentioned this in session 6, I'm not sure. There is the possibility that they could both reject it from that point and not endure to the end. Obviously, I think it's a slim possibility. That's not who they are. That's not their character. But we've seen people not walk in their character before. So there is that possibility. So no man living. It is even with Zechariah and Elizabeth, it is too early to declare them justified. Right now, they are walking righteously. Are they going to keep that up tomorrow? That is where the big question comes in. So they haven't been resurrected and judged yet, but they were righteous while they were alive. I think the Greek would help here. Again, I would want to, my Greek skills are enough to get me in trouble sometimes. I definitely would want to check this and make sure that what I'm interpreting is correct here, that it says they walking righteously before God right then, that's what they were doing. I think that's what we're going to come up with. So you're right, they hadn't been resurrected and judged. They were righteous while they were alive. They were walking righteously while they were alive. Jay says, I don't see a difference between being righteous and being justified. I think it's in the tense. And it's really that they were walking righteously. Now, as we read it in English, they were both righteous walking. Might confuse us just a little bit. They were walking righteously before God. I hope that is of help to you. Mr. J in Tennessee. Now, do we have any New Testament dead flesh references?
Sarx is never used of dead things.
Sarx is never used of dead things in the New Testament. Okay. Okay, that's what I thought. Soma is the word for body. Now, I don't know if you would use soma for a dead animal. Like chicken flesh. Probably you would use soma. This is in the New Testament. Of course, we're going to use the New Testament to interpret the New Testament. We probably would want to broaden that into classical Greek or classical. There's not a lot of Koine Greek to go off of. There's a little bit, but we probably want to look at classical Greek and say, okay, was sarx ever used for dead things? But I think it's like. For those of us in the United States, we don't eat pig. Now, we do eat a lot of pork, but we don't eat pig. In Latin languages, you don't really eat chicken. You got gallina and you got pollo. And you don't want gallina on your plate. That's a live chicken. I think Greek separates those words out for us and carries that out. Do we have?
I don't think it's used of animals in that.
Okay, we don't have any dead animals there, but to compare that with. Jay in Tennessee, thanks for the good question. Appreciate that. A very good one. Let's I got a couple questions here live, but I do want to take a couple that are waiting on me and getting cold on the back burner. Ron, good to see you. Had a question came in Tuesday. Ron said, I'm trying to rightly divide, but have a question I cannot figure out. This is a typical right division journey. Hey, there's something, and typically it comes, and I suspect this is true for Ron. Typically it comes when you've had some previous brainwashing that you're still working through. And maybe not even brainwashing. Maybe it's just, you read something one way and you take it that way. You all know how it is when you take something and you read it wrong the first time, and then it's so hard to read. It's not even brainwashing there. You got it wrong the first time, and now you're trying to overcome that. So I got a question I can't figure out. After Jesus paid the price for redemption, let me stop right there. Obviously, we're talking about the cross here. I do think redemption is a thing that goes to Israel. When we see the word redeemed in the Bible, Ephesians 1:7, maybe, in his blood we have redemption. Or in him we have redemption through his blood, something to that effect. When we see the word redemption is talking about Israel, not about the Gentiles. That's one little clue to help. It may not relate to the question here we get to, but after Jesus paid the price for redemption, to be absent from the body is to be with the Lord. Yes, I am going to agree with you, although I personally would want to word it just a little bit differently. I would probably say after the dispensation of the grace of God began, those who have received the gift of eternal life, when they die, they're going to be with the Lord. It's a little more persnickety. For two reasons. One, it wasn't technically after Jesus paid the price of redemption, because there was 10 or 12 or 15 years between the cross and the dispensation of the grace of God. And those people that died in there, like the Apostle James, I don't think absent from the body, present with the Lord. The second thing is, I wouldn't use anymore, though I did it for years, and you wouldn't have you could go back a year ago and find me using absent from the body, present with the Lord in this same way. But I think now I've looked at that context. I've got a session on it in our series called A Little Bit of This, a Little Bit of That we did just earlier this year. And I'm not sure that's really what that's talking about, though the concept is still true. But I think we're using that a little out of context. So anyway, let me tweak it a little bit. After the dispensation of the grace of God, those who have believed in the Lord, when they die, they are with the Lord. Now, Ron gets to the question. What about the Jewish believers during the first century that Peter was preaching to? Okay, and I was jumping ahead to that question, wasn't I? Like a clairvoyant there. I need my clairvoyant name for when I set up my clairvoyant booth. What's the opposite of madam? Because it seems like all the kooky ladies that do the things out, it's always like madam. We have Madam M down the road here. What'd you say?
Magic head.
Magic head. I think you're making fun of my bald head. Sir Randolph, in my clairvoyant days. Okay. The Jewish Peters that Peter was preaching to. Let's go ahead and put the Apostle James there. He's in Acts chapter 12. If I'm not mistaken, he dies. Beheaded, if I'm not mistaken. What happens to him? Others. We could even take Ananias and Sapphira. We know they died. Might argue that they were out of fellowship or not living up to the covenant. But they're dead anyway. If we assume, they were actually Christians, which would be a bad assumption, but nonetheless, if we assume, okay, where'd they go? I think that they would have gone to the same place as, let's say, John the Baptist before the cross. And that would be the same place as Lazarus in the story of the rich man and Lazarus, that they would go to Abraham's bosom. I really don't hold to, I understand where they get it, but I don't hold to the idea that Abraham's bosom, paradise, was emptied out at the cross. If it was, you do have this, pardon the Catholic term here, but you do have a little bit of limbo between the cross and the Pauline revelation. And you do run into this problem. Okay, what about those Jewish believers? So if you have paradise emptied out at the resurrection, he took captivity captive is usually where that's taken. I don't think that's what it means, but that's where that theology is usually built. So he emptied it out then you really would have a hard time becoming a right divider because you do end up with a gap. Now, non-right dividers don't have a gap. Even Acts 2 people, which technically there's a 50-day gap, and surely somebody died. Some believer died in that 50 days. Surely. 50 days is a long time for nobody to die. So what do you do with those people? Now, the Acts 2 people, the reason they don't have a problem is because they only say they're Acts 2, but really they don't mean anything by it. That's why we're Acts 2 in Matthew chapter 28. That's our marching orders. We're Acts 2 in Matthew chapter 5, 6, and 7 tells us how to pray and how to live. We're Acts 2 and we're the light of the, they so mix it up. Their Acts 2 stuff is just yak. They don't really mean anything by it. The church started in Acts 2, and that's why we see the church in Matthew 18 and Matthew 16 and all these things. So they don't have a problem because they totally just put it in the blender. But only a right divider would have a problem with this. So this is the good news. You are struggling with an issue that is exclusive to right division, which means you're making some progress. You're getting there. I think that those people went to paradise. And I think they're there today, and I don't think that's a bad place to be. Abraham's bosom. Wasn't a bad place for the rich man, and so I would put them there. Thanks. And again, not this and so many others, there's probably, take that as the assumption and then, dig that through, make sure we could actually make that work. When it comes to Scripture, there's not anything that mitigates against it and kicks it out. And again, the thing I would do is try to find the easiest way to knock that out. If you can kill it early, then kill it early and send it back to me. Thanks, Ron. Appreciated it. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And thanks. Thank you. Thank you. From Robert. Live question comes in this morning. Is this Old Man Bob Robert, or is this a different Robert? Y'all tend to get several names, and I get confused. But nonetheless, Robert, glad you're with us. If the great flood cleansed the earth of the Nephilim DNA, stop right there mid-question, as I am wont to do. That is what it was designed for. It does appear to me that somehow some Nephilim DNA ended up on the other side. And I think we see evidence of that right in Genesis chapter 6 when the Nephilim are first introduced. In Genesis 6:4, there were giants in the earth in those days and also after that. Now, maybe we're reading this wrong and it's not talking about after the flood. That's in those days and continuing, or in those days and also after that when the sons of God came into the daughters of men and bare children unto them, they became mighty men. You can read that a couple of different ways. If you take also after that to be also after the flood, then something happened. Was it that the flood didn't quite cleanse it out? Was it that some of them actually lived? This is actually a fairly widely held Jewish position. The Jews mostly would hold the same position that I do on the Nephilim, that it was fallen angels and human women that produced Nephilim. And they would say some survived. What's his name? What's his name? King somebody. Right before he's trying to tell me how to run the show over there. Right before Melchizedek, Og. He's over here reading the whole thing. We don't read the whole question in advance. It's hard to find good help. The Jewish people hold that this guy survived. If you look it up, you find it on Chabad.org. He floated on a log, literally. Now, I don't know that that's necessarily how they came after that, but you definitely have some after that. I tend to lean towards Ham's wife, who sometimes I call Mrs. Piggy. Is that how they got there? Now let's read the question. If the great flood cleansed the earth of the Nephilim, how do we explain men like King Og of Bashan, 14 foot tall, and Goliath and his brothers? Did the sons of God come back illegally? Maybe so. Maybe the whole thing happened again. Let's try to put out several scenarios. We know we've got them like King Og of Bashan. Bashan, as we say in Mississippi. King Og, 14 foot tall. He's one of them guys. And here's one scenario, other angels, probably fallen, but maybe not, they decided, we're going to do the same thing. I'm convinced angels are created in the image of God, just like we're created in the image of God. Go back to my series on angels on that we did at the Taos Bible Conference this year. There's always been those temptations for man. I think for angels as well. It is a possibility. It's other fallen angels or maybe even not fallen angels. The Bible doesn't have to tell us everything, right? It's in the realm of possibility, okay? I know we haven't heard that before. We haven't taught that before. We don't have any proof for that. I'm not saying that's exactly the way it happened. I'm saying what is in the realm of possibility? Let's consider those things. Another in the realm of possibility is that King Og of Bashan. Look up for me. Just do a AI search on here. Who is the guy that rabbinical Judaism has a tradition that he survived the flood by floating on a log? It might be King Og. We'll see. I think it might be that King Og, they say, was one of the 5 kings in Abraham's day, and he survived, and actually goes back all the way. It's going to end up back to Nimrod. That maybe King Og is Nimrod. Okay, it is in the realm of possibility, and a lot of Jewish ancient sages believed it and taught it. It's in the realm of possibility. Or is it what I tend to hold and prefer, and I think there's more textual evidence for this, that Ham's wife had an illicit relationship, went onto the boat pregnant, nobody knew about it, had a child while she was on Canaan, and it's through that line of Canaan. Can you hold that through, certainly the Canaanites that are the problem, but maybe you'd find, Og is not a Canaanite and Goliath is not a Canaanite. Excuse me, maybe there's several that have to go through. So really on this, I think what you've got is if we were writing a book on the Nephilim, I think what we would have to do is have a chapter at the end on speculations. Here's several possible speculations on how this happens to carry that through. Was it Nimrod who becomes Og who swam during the flood, right?
I didn't see Og, just Og that survived the flood by clinging to the ark or
cling to a log or to the ark. King Og. Yeah, you could check that out. I'm sure Chabad, C-H-A-B-A-D, Chabad.org. If you look up Og, probably find that story if you want it. Again, kind of an interesting thing going on there. Appreciate it. It is Old Man Bob. Somehow my other channel was activated. I suspected it was you. I was going by the picture. I thought, hey, I think this is Robert and Bob. I think it's Old Man Bob. Joyce agrees with me, the ham wife theory. I I think there's a little bit of textual evidence there. Again, I think probably all these we have to say, we don't really have the answer, so here's some speculations. Let's play around with them, which can be awfully fun, and I think it's a good way to learn. So really can be, I would say, quite the blessing there. Let's go to Donald in Daleville, Virginia, who sent in a question on Wednesday. And the question is, how about that? Can you share where I can get the electronic version of the Companion Bible? Yeah, because sometimes I, as I did probably the other day, put it up on the screen, and there it is. I've got the one here in front of my desk, and yet the words are small, and it's a long time, and you can't show it, and you can't copy and paste it. Often in resource books, reference books like this, it is nice to have an electronic version also. Now, a number of places. One is that where mine is in the Logos Bible software. I'm not a huge fan of Logos, though it really is a great engine there. Logos Bible software, Logos. I think their company's called FaithWorks now, and they've been bought out by, I don't know, Thomas Nelson or something like this. It's owned by Thomas Nelson is owned by, I don't know, one of the big publishing houses. It's not even necessarily a Christian company. They have a Christian division so that they can make money off Christians. And there's a lot of evangelical garbage in there. But there is a free version. I think it's still there. There is a free version of Logos that gives you the engine. And then you can get like the Bible, the King James Bible you can get in there. There's a number of freebies. It's hard. Last I checked, it was hard to find the free version because they want you to buy something. They will always oversell you. They will always, everything you buy is going to come with packages and packages of junk, and it's going to say, oh, look, how wonderful. You get all of this for only. I would go just the free version, and then I would add on books that you want and just buy a la carte. They have the Companion Bible. Now, that's not going to be free. And sometimes they've even gotten, sneaky that you can't even buy the book you want. It's only in the Bullinger package. You can buy the Bullinger package and get all of these. That's one way. That's not necessarily free. Now, we get Rendell the Wizard. I see it there, Hector. Thank you. Rendell the Wizard here with you in your clairvoyant time. We should just do like a once a month Rendell the Wizard show, just for fun. Sorry, I got to get back to it. Now, there are free places that you can go. One is Internet Archive. internetarchive.org. If you go there, let's just look it up, and I'm going to have to switch the screen here so I can see what I'm doing. Internet Archive. I think it's here. We'll just, right there. .org, free library. I just want to go there, okay? I don't want to know about it. There you go. Now, if you just go right here, type EW Bullinger, because there is a Heinrich Bullinger who is a descendant. I thought they had the Companion Bible. They've got the appendices to the Companion Bible. And they've also got How to Enjoy the Bible, which is very good. But you can open the appendices here. Let's see if it's going to open. I don't want pictures of it or anything. I just want to open it. Yeah. When you get here, you'll be able to find a white screen that will be very helpful to you. Eventually, there's one there. But I thought it was the Companion Bible. It's not. But if you look, you will find links to the Companion Bible. I see Yeah, Jay, try to share that link. Jay in Tennessee says, I have a link to a website that has the companion Bible on. Try to share it. It might, I'm going to watch your chats. I might have to approve that or something because links might get cut off or whatever. You'll find it there. There are some. We do sell the print version. We don't sell an electronic version. If I can find a good file, I would print it. The only I would make it. Excuse me, I would make it available like on ebook and that kind of thing. But finding that file out there is kind of difficult. There probably is one. Like I need a text file if anyone sees it. Anyway, there you go. Yeah, look around. They are there. Sometimes you just see the notes often, which is okay. Because you have your own Bible and you can. There are some things in the text side that you don't get when you get an electronic version typically. But you've got it. But probably the best you're going to find is one of the Bible software programs that's going to have it all linkable. And that will be, that does come in handy for speed there. Anyway, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Let's see. I've got a couple other questions here that come in live. I do want to try to. My goal was to catch up on a few of these things. Donald, I am going to look and I'll email you some stuff too. I'll try to see if I can find a better copy because Donald gave me his email address. Let's go to Gina down in Katy, Texas, who, by the way, happens to be my sister. But Gina says in Deuteronomy 33, verse 2, he said, the Lord came from Sinai, rose up from Seir unto them. He shined forth from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000s of his saints from his right hand. And from his right hand went a fiery law for them. Now, the question is, who are the 10,000s of saints? Let me back up just a little bit. I want to get some context here just to check this out. And this is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of God, blessed the children of Israel before his death. He said, the Lord came from Sinai, rose up from Seir unto them, shined forth from Mount Paran, came with 10,000 of his saints. From his right hand went a fiery law for them. Yea, he loved the people. All his saints are in thy hand. And they sat down at his feet. Everyone shall receive of thy words. Moses commanded us a law, even an inheritance of the congregation. Okay, so I wanted to get just a little bit of context there because I think that in Deuteronomy chapter 33, we've got Moses giving his kind of final hoorah, his going away speech. I think that we would find he is talking about the giving of the law. Now, there is a very strong possibility that he's talking about two things at the same time. One, he's talking about the giving of the law. Two, he is talking about when the Lord comes for his people in the end, prophetically. He's talking about, let's say, the second coming. But I don't think he's just talking about the second coming here. And I think we want to get the main thing he's talking about before. What would the audience have heard? They wouldn't have heard anything about the second coming, though it may be embedded in there, it may be under the surface. What they're going to hear is, hey, the Lord came to us and gave us the law. Luca, look up, there's a passage in, I want to say it's in Paul, but I may be wrong, that talks about the law was given by angels or by the mediation of angels or by angels themselves. Find that passage for me and let's compare that. I think what he's telling us here is something that we often miss, and that is that when the Lord came and delivered the law. There's some interesting things here about the names. He came from Sinai, rose up from Seir, shined forth from Paran. We would want to nail those three places down and see, are they the same place? Are they the different place? And we'd want to question the assumptions on it, because if you Google it, you might find, oh, these are three different places, one's here, one's there. Don't take that immediately and say that's right, because names of places tend to be kind of difficult, and one stands in for another. Are we all talking about the Mount Sinai experience that would be given, or are we talking about the journey that's taken? What have we got there? We'd want to look into that. That passage is Galatians 3:19, where Paul says, Wherefore then serveth the law? It was added because of transgressions, till the seed should come, to whom the promise was made. It, the law, it was ordained by angels in the hand of a mediator. Okay, ordained is the word I was looking for. Ordained here doesn't mean to lay hands on and give a prayer over. It means set, put into place by angels. I think I would put those two passages together as the good first guess. And so when you've got, he came with 10,000s of his saints, normally we just read that Moses met with God. But Moses says, he had some other people with him, some others with him, 10,000s of saints, ordained by angels, the law. I'm going to say the 10,000s of saints here were actually angels. Now, in the Old Testament, when you look up the word saints, it is either people or angels. And you can find a number, if you just did the word search on saints, you'd find a number of times when saints are actually, especially if you looked in the Hebrew, you would find this, where saints are angels. And so here, this is the beginning of the Jewish nation. There really are no saints that, especially they're coming with the Lord, that are already dead. That hasn't happened yet. So who could they be? If you read it as people, you come up with a problem. But in the Old Testament, see if you can find us an example of saints in the Old Testament that we would say, yeah, that's angels. It may translate them different, and so we may have to dig a little deeper and go into the Hebrew, and something we can't quite find here in the limitations of the hour. But that's where I would go, is connecting it to Galatians chapter 3, verse 19, ordained by angels. And if we find an Old Testament saints passage, you can just throw the pen back over here and I'll know that you're ready. Thanks, Gina. I'll see you for Thanksgiving. By the way, those of you who might be in the Houston area, a week from Sunday, I don't know what that date that is, a week from Sunday, I'm going to be preaching in Katy, Texas. A little home group there. You're welcome to join us. I'll be happy to send the info, and you can just send me an email, and would love to have you. As long as the house doesn't overflow, we'll be good. Did you find me something, Luca?
Daniel 8:13.
Daniel 8:13. There we go. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake. You could almost make a good Dr. Seuss story out of that. Yeah, when you look at that in Daniel again, 8:13, that's definitely going to be angel saints. So take it as angels there. Thank you very much. I was laughing at you in the choir there, Randy. I won't go into the deal there. But Randy does have a question here that came in today down in Corsicana, Texas. Where were the ones that came out of the graves when Jesus was resurrected, and what do you think happened to them afterward? Such an intriguing spot. When Jesus was, I think it's when he was crucified. Check that passage for me. When Jesus was crucified, even before the resurrection, dead people came forth. Dead saints, which are not angels, but people. In this case, dead saints were resurrected. Maybe it was at the resurrection, but I think it was actually at the crucifixion. Who were they? What happened to them? You know, the Bible just dumps this one on our plate and sort of leaves it there as this passing comment. And we're like, inquiring people want to know, what is this here? What was the book again? Matthew 27, verse 52. We'll back up a verse or so. Okay, yeah. Jesus cried with a loud voice, the veil of the temple was rent, and the graves were open, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, came out of the graves after his resurrection, and they went into the holy city. Okay, now this is, we would have to determine where are we going to put this after his resurrection. Came out of the graves after. Do we sort of back this up? Because here, you know, we've got right at the death, he yields, you know, he gives up the ghost, veil of the temple, and graves were open. And these arose. Now, is this backing up and say, oh, wait, they arose, they came out of the grave. All this was after the resurrection. Two ways you can take that. We won't try to analyze that because that was not Randy's question, when. But the graves were open. Saints which slept arose. Maybe they stayed there 3 days, maybe not. Came out of the grave after his resurrection, went into the holy city and appeared to many, and boom, that's it. John 11. I don't know what verse. Down a ways. John 11, after verse 41. Maybe. Where in John 11, where's the verse that says, he who lives, though he were dead, yet shall never die? Those are the three key words, shall never die. That's what I'm looking for. In John 11. Trying to figure out what happened to them. Did they ascend with him? Did they miraculously, they were transformed, translated into heaven? It was earlier in the chapter, verse 25. Do they still live and are walking the earth today? Jesus said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me. Now, since these are saints, I think we would say these are people who believed in him. Though he were dead, Jesus is speaking in the singular, but these are bodies, soma, not flesh, bodies of the saints. Though he were dead, saints, believers, bodies dead. Yet shall he live, and whosoever, big word right there, whosoever liveth and believeth in me. That is, these people that are raised again, if I'm interpreting it correctly, shall never die. I think we do believe this. Once you and I are resurrected, we shall never die. So here's people who come out of the resurrection. They couldn't have just died again. Would be a big problem with John 11:25. So either they ascended, or they were translated, or they live here today. I know it's kind of a spooky, freaky, weirdo thing to think of them living here today. And would they want to? Would they be like, as Jesus is ascending into heaven, you picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille. What am I supposed to do here? A lot of interesting things that come about. This is another one of those, bottom line, we don't have the answer. So when we don't have the answer, put all of the possibilities out there. I think we have to, and then mark off the easiest ones to mark off. I think they lived, they went and had a birthday party, they died. They had second funeral, the funeral home got double dips on these guys, and they're dead. I think we have to put that out because of John 11:26. So, translated, we see that happen to Enoch. Doesn't tell us, but it is a possibility they were translated. I guess you could say, a chariot of fire came down. Nobody has to see it, so that's a possibility. I think you could say ascended with him. I don't think there's any evidence of that in Acts chapter 1, but again, the Bible doesn't tell us everything, so maybe they ascended with him. I would think that would be a dramatic enough thing that we would know, but then again, we only have two verses in Matthew, and he's the only one, I believe, that speaks about this, so that seems kind of dramatic to me too, and yet it's not in there. Or live today. Then you almost get a whole nother chapter. If they have been alive for 2,000 years, what is it that they're doing? We do have myths and fables about people who, are 2,000 years old. They never died. Typically, it gets into vampire kind of things or zombie kind of things or whatever. But isn't it vampires that never die or something like that? I don't know. It's been a long time since I read Count Dracula. But we do have these myths. Typically, our myths and fables are built off something. Now, they're twisted and perverted and grown and everything else, make all these stories. So things certainly change there. But we do have these myths. Okay, is there something about it that, hey, okay, that's why that story is there? You go down to, what's the little town that starts with an H in Texas? It's a little tiny town. There's a bunch of them. I'm not thinking of Hillsboro. It's on Highway 6. Walk in the gas station there. It's a nice little gas station. Yes Way. Look up on the wall. And it'll say, home of Brushy somebody. I can't remember his name. AKA Billy the Kid. Come over here to New Mexico, you can see Billy the Kid, where Pat Summerall shot him. Talk around, and we got one in our church, he'll tell you. Yeah, my grandpa knew Billy the Kid long after he was dead. Down southern New Mexico. He was living down there most time in Mexico. He didn't die. Yeah, okay, what's the real story here? Lots of myths and legends, and then they grow, and then they make all these things, and you don't know what to believe. So maybe Maybe they're still alive. True? Not true? Randy, he says, I think they ascended with him. That's just me, though. And I think you do in the end have to kind of say, to me, if I have to put money on something, I'm going to put the money there. Certainly comes with less problems if they ascended or were translated like Enoch. And bring that about. Old man Bob, the saints which slept, there's a vast difference between a resuscitation and a full-blown glorified resurrection, like Lazarus. Okay, he says, like Lazarus, they lived out their lives and died. Robert says, in my humble opinion. And if you take not a resurrection, but a resuscitation, then that's what you've got as well. Now, if you take this as resurrection and apply it to Lazarus, you've got the same issues with Lazarus. Shall never die. Okay, well, what happened? Did Lazarus die? What happened? Again, lots of looking at that. And Jay brings up a good point. The very ending of John might have some clues if Lazarus is the one writing. You remember in John, the disciple whom Jesus loved, who everyone says is John, but might be Lazarus, is walking back there, and Jesus says, what's it to you if he never dies? Oh, and some said he's never going to die. Why are they saying that? Maybe you got it going there. Sometimes I forget to turn off the ringer. But anyway, thanks. And how about that? We are out of time, not out of questions. My apologies there. And I do need to tell you, next week I am going to be off. It's Thanksgiving week in the United States. Monday through Friday, we will not have programming next week. We will have programming both Sundays, but not Monday through Friday. And of course, that includes Wednesday, Thursday. And so we've got, a week or so before we are back with you, and we'll be ready to go. Hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you'll go to maybe dispensationalpublishing.com. There's a free book there on the Mayflower that you could check out. Our friend Dr. David Beal has written that. You want some good, say, I can't watch Randall the Magnificent, so what am I going to do? Well, there's a free book you can read. Now, that one's an ebook. You can get a number of other free books. You could perhaps order Systematic Theology or another, and, study theology for the week, whatever it is. You could do. Take care of dispensationalpublishing.com, randywhiteministries.org. There's about, 1 million videos there and on our YouTube site that you could check out. So I do hope you have a great Thanksgiving, wherever it is that you are, and very much enjoyed the time here together with you, and look forward to seeing you soon, right here. Thanks for being with us today. God bless. Take care.